Hi. Well, Jason, how are you? Yes, this video is primarily for you or anyone else that might have some of the us versus them feeling experience about life as it currently exists. And if you're not feeling the us versus them in the world, you're not paying attention because everywhere you look, there is a process by intention or design or by coincidence that we're all doing an us versus them. If you look at that, it has been a cascade since the beginning of COVID arrived. Out of the invisible, something arrives that begins to create a globalization, or the national or the health organizations, the UN, the whatever, the World Health Organizations now start to tell us all what to do. Don't travel, don't go anywhere. This is a lockdown. Wear your masks, do this, don't go there, think this. And yes, there is most likely some degree of a nefarious intention of us versus them. Yes, that happened on a global level. And yes, that's us versus them in some form or another. We ask, where did this virus come from? Who's actually profiting from this? So you start to look around, and yes, you look at pharmaceuticals, you look at corporations, you follow the money trail, and you realize that there is a lot of power out there being expressed through unseen organizations telling the Australian government how to get in line with another government somewhere else. And then you wonder, is it really the powerful, the elite, the invisible? Wait a second. We started out with something invisible. Is this from an invisible spectrum? Is this from a higher consciousness? Is this from aliens? Who is this problem? Who is this condition really manifested by? Now, what you notice is over the time period, it goes from 5 and shut down, and people have to stay home. And pretty soon they're doing an us versus them with their children or parents, siblings across the dinner table, different political attitudes, social attitudes, us versus them on the lowest rung of the diameter called family. And us versus them in the community of people. I had this personal experience. I had a group of people that would not even relate to me in the family because I wasn't vaccinated. Oh, we don't associate it with unvaccinated people. Yes, and us versus them on a collective experience in the community. It's everywhere. You want to do it in politics, left and right, liberal and conservative. You want to do that on that level, us versus them. You want to do it on a military level of China versus Australia. I mean, come on. Tiny little Australia, 25 million people, going to take on the Chinese, who are, I forget, they're over 1 billion now, but I don't know their actual number anymore. Us versus them nationally, internationally. How many of these categories of us versus them can you name? Because there's a lot more going on an us versus them than we actually see. Now, the same thing is inside the family tree. Yes, this is, this is a family tree. It's an us versus them, and each one of these chakra positions, glandular positions, body locations, it's mother's family, father's family, us versus them. So inside you, inside us, inside all of us, is an us versus them polarity contrast function. And it's being heightened, enlightened, and now all of them, all the way up to, Russia and Ukraine and you name, NATO versus East versus West and up versus down. Yes, there's all the way through this entire topography is an us versus them current activity. It's annoying. It's real. It does exist. I'm not saying these things don't exist on the highest level from spirits of good versus evil. Yes, all that stuff is happening. The very interesting thing is it's all happening simultaneously. For me, I kind of like it. And the reason for it is a lot of people are repelling each other. You know what happens when a lot of people repel each other? People are moving apart. It creates a vacuum. The opportunity for you and I to actually create something coming together to feel that energy that has been sublimated or repulsed or separated by the us versus them, it's possible, theoretically, to come inside of here and actually create a unity, a shared experience, a wholeness, a brotherhood, a friendship, a caring on each one of these positions, to be completely surrounded by the war of, quote, all against all, where everybody is being forced into an individual acknowledgement of their own position. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, my friend, my brother, my buddy, you and I have been doing this for, I don't know, going on 30 years from one form or another. You and I can do this. Because the way to do this is to acknowledge that there is an opportunity to produce the unity. I'm suggesting that the primary substance that now not only heals this, but transforms this, is a sincere desire to want to come together for something that moves. Something that moves together. Let me just put up a different graphic for you. The whole experience around coming together is, come on, Jason, you and I, somebody ought to be able to do this. You and I could do this for sure. How do we do something that looks more like this? All this is a series of attributes that are us versus them, but now occupied in a completely new way. I'm suggesting that we all need to do an us versus them by identifying these individual attributes or capacities. These are just words identifying the 12 birth order positions or glands or organs. Where you and I need to be is in the middle. A sincere desire to create something that did not exist before. I'm saying that whatever you and I might have as dear buddies, since the very first day we met, when you were wearing that crazy ring and nose, was it in your nose? Or I don't know, you might have had more than one. I don't know. Remember that? Yeah, I do. I dearly, preciously remember what began on that day. Right now, we have the opportunity to do something exactly because of the contrast of us versus them. We can occupy something, create something between you and I that's stronger than ever. A sincere desire to want to feel you, and a sincere desire to want to receive you. And to create that exchange between you and me produces a substance that occupies the middle of this. Now, I've used these other metaphors before. This is simply a metaphor of a glass bowl. This glass bowl, by the way, corresponds to me to the bottom of the heart. And another bowl, which I happen to have a whole variety of different metaphors. I like this one for the thymus. This is a us versus them unification function, where what we have is the opportunity for you and I to heal the separation. How do we heal the separation? by producing a substance that did not exist between us. A sincere desire to want to feel, one to elevate the other. Yeah, it's true. You and I can produce something by having a sincere desire to want to exchange time, feeling, consciousness, sharing, appreciation, gratitude, and have a sincere intention for wanting to create this. That's the thing that most astounds me right now, is the magnitude of the opportunity to create is happening in the middle of all of this us versus them violence. The world is at a point of wanting to decimate itself. In the middle of all this radical shaking of consciousness, of people being no longer unified in some, because they're just in animosity toward each other, creates this vacuum in the middle. We can create this, we can occupy this. Now is the best time to do it. How to do that? Simply pause for a moment and consider what time of the day it is and feel it. And then desire to want to share that with me. I'll do the same thing now. It happens to be at the 6-boy hour at 11:30 in the morning. I know what, and you know what 6-boy feels like, and I can do a 2, 4, 6, feel you, and just because it's easy. It's easy because I already love you anyway. So the desire to want to do that, feel that, increase that for the purpose of lifting your life along with the lives of those around you, the sincere desire to want to give and receive that is creative. It's a free will choice to create. I'm suggesting that we do it with all the months of the year. I'm suggesting that we do it with all the hours of the day. I'm suggesting that we do it with sincerity and purpose and passion to create this unity while all the other stuff is going on. You can go ahead and blame or attack, which, that's a little dangerous, but you can do it. It has a law of compensation to it, or you can create this capacity to love one another. This is what a level 4 fraternal experience is about. What holds all of this together is the heart. What creates the opportunity to expand into all of that? It's the heart. It's the shared experience that you and I can do. It creates something that was not there before. It's pretty exciting to think that everybody else is leaving this place. We can occupy it. It's an energetic opportunity, not just from the physical dimension, but in the etheric dimension, this is going on. So we can occupy the etheric to move it into the physical body through this location. So I'm already engaged. Approximately sometimes 1 minute to 3 minutes a day. I'll pause, feel you, circulate it through, look at the time, look at my feeling, share what's up for me, and then spend just a moment with the desire to want to transmit that to you, equal to my desire to want to receive also from you. It's something we agree upon, something we want to do, because we know what we're going to do with it when we actually increase our capacity to grow. We're going to have to resolve all the resistances we have, and that's why all this is coming up. We have to review, cleanse, remove, occupy the place that will take us higher. So I appreciate your recent communication around us versus them. What a wonderful opportunity. My suggestion is call a friend. Call somebody. It doesn't have to be somebody I know, but do the same thing with them. Find 3 or 4 people that you'd really like to do that in your own network, along with the network that you and I already have with the men and women in Australia and other parts of the world. because we can do one group to another group to another group, and well, we can do more togetherness and unity. In the middle of this us versus them, we can do extraordinary things. That's my attitude about it. So if you have a personal feeling about it, be sure to let me know. Say hi to Lucy. She's part of it too. She gets her 3 minutes. Don't worry. See you, bud.